this new science fiction bestseller, Chinese
yes.
science fiction bestseller, Three Body Problems. And a story by author Liu Cixin portrays a fictional past, present, and future where the Earth encounters a civilization from another world. The opening scenes of this adaptation on Netflix, of course, starts during China's Cultural Revolution, a bloody period that authorities often avoid discussing, and Bloomberg Opinion columnist Karishma Vaswani thinks that the series shines a light, actually, on a more complex version of China. Karishma joins us right now to talk us through this. It's fairly, I would say, fairly clear to see why there's controversy around, particularly around, why they chose this to be the starting point. Because the question is, did it have to be controversial?
You know what, David? I think it did have to be controversial in and of itself. I don't know whether you've watched the series yet. I watched it over the weekend with my husband. It's definitely something that, gets you thinking. And it's based on a series of books, of course, that were a huge success, not just in China, but around the world, amongst some very loyal fans. And I think it's really interesting the way the Netflix series decided to start with that scene from the Cultural Revolution. I don't want to give it away to people who've not watched it yet, but it is not for the faint-hearted, to say the least. And I think that the fact that there has been this controversy around it, you've got Chinese fans who are saying, well, why has Netflix made this such an Americanized, westernized version of the much-loved book? And then you've got global fans looking at this. For some, it's their very first experience of understanding this tale, this wild, strange world that the author has created that's come out of China, but doesn't look anything like the kind of China that Xi Jinping likes to portray to the world. And that in and of itself, David, I feel is such an achievement, because it really portrays, this idea that Xi Jinping may want to control so many areas of public life, but when it comes to your imagination, he really can't do that, can he?
And it's interesting, as you say, right? I mean, no spoilers, obviously. I haven't seen it yet, but you really do sell it, Karishma. You talk about how the show presents an alternative world. Why do you think that's important?
Yvonne, I think it is important because when we look at some of the fundamental issues between China and the U.S. today, it's always about geopolitics. It's always about, what's happening in the Taiwan Strait, what's happening in the South China Sea. How do we, resolve the issue of trade tariffs between these two superpower rivals? But through this series and through the book, there is a global conversation taking place. I mean, you just have to look at social media to see the kinds of opinions that are being reflected as a result of what people are watching online. I mean, I have to say that, this is not available in China, but people are watching it through VPNs, and around the world, they're watching it on Netflix. And now you have this conversation taking place where it's not about Taiwan and it's not about the South China Sea, but it's about this fantastical world and this sci-fi mystery. And in a way, and perhaps this is a bit idealistic, but forgive me and indulge me a little, it allows audiences from all over the world to talk about the same thing. And ultimately, isn't that what we're all about? We love watching stuff that makes us go, wow, and it brings people together in a way that I don't think we've seen in quite a while.
Which is okay, let me build on that. That's useful exercise, isn't it? When you have two audiences, and your point, Chinese and American audiences, discussing the same thing, but looking at that very same thing through different lenses. Is this bridging that gap, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, David, you've put it so beautifully. I couldn't have put it better myself. And I think that lens should be applied even further in other aspects of cultural film and literary life. There are a number of sci-fi books in China that could make it onto the silver screens, despite the fact that this genre has been so heavily regulated within China itself. It was just a few years ago, in fact, that Xi Jinping and the government there came out with guidelines as to how to portray the sci-fi world on Chinese screens, but also as an export. And it was very much about showcasing China's technological advancement. What I think is interesting about this particular series is it came before that period. And I think it is a way for audiences around the world to sort of relate to each other and realize they all like the same thing.